about Betsy and I, we met at forestry school in Syracuse, New York. And so when we were in our 20 or so, we both decided we wanted to go to forestry school. We wanted to make a difference in the world. And we went there. We met each other, which was probably the best thing that came out of forestry school. Betsy went on to graduate school in forestry. I went on to business school. We then both went into business careers, but always with the sense that we wanted to make a difference in the world, and especially on the environmental side. And so through a couple of series of great decisions, hard work, and a lot of luck, we were able to be part of the founding team of an internet company called Priceline. And Priceline is a very successful internet company. We were involved in the public offering of it. That resulted in a wealth event. And so the very first thing that we did was we created our family foundation, the Betsy and Jesse Fink Foundation. And we funded it with Priceline stock. And we got so excited that we would be able to start giving money away in a philanthropic way to environmental organizations. And so that was in the year 2000. Since then, our foundation has been very active in philanthropic endeavors. I would say probably the greatest joy is when those programs involve people. And so to come full circle, this is a great day. It's just a great day for us to look and see names and faces and to know that you're in the beginning of your career and that you're on to do wonderful things. And we hope that you have a great day, and if anything we can do during the day and anything we can do for the rest of your lives, you should know that we're here. So that's what I have to say, and with that, I'll let Betsy talk about the farm.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to give you a brief history on the farm and just talk about where we've been and where we've come to. Basically, this was a private home that we purchased, and kind of did it. It's kind of spur of the moment. I just wanted to learn how to grow food for my family and have a place for our daughter to ride her horse. And that's the kind of humble beginnings of this particular farm. And in 7 years, it's become something very, very different. We have incredible relationships with chefs that we produce food for. We sell food into a couple of markets. And it's, if you build it, they will come. That's kind of what has happened here. This property has just been a place to convene and a place to learn. We have 3 apprentices who you'll meet who are in the group today. We have high school apprentices. We have neighbors who just show up and want to learn from us. And as Annie said, we are taking the wisdom of the past and bringing it forward and bringing young people in to teach us how to do different things, to do things differently than we've done in the past. Every year is different, but we are adapting every single year. So we welcome all of these ideas to this property, and we're not sure where we're going to go next. Maybe you guys will inform some of that, but we just really appreciate what this place has become for us. It's a platform for us, basically, to do the work that we do. So, welcome.
We had carrots in here in February, which we just finished cleaning out just recently. Carrots and beets and other root crops that tolerate some cold. And then we followed with a plant that we started in the greenhouse. These are tomatillas and gold husk cherries, and they're fantastic. And we also have them here because they tend to escape, and we don't want them in our regular garden. It's one example of how we're extending our season, reducing what we need from outside. So it increases the revenue for the farm a little longer, which is the revenue is part of the fuel that feeds the engine that's Millstone Farm, that enables us to do lots of other great stuff. We're only growing on 1/3 of an acre and 17,000 square feet, and we're selling to 14 or 15 restaurants, 2 supermarkets, 10 CSA members.
There's a lot of bedrock on this property, and so it allows us to be able to grow on areas that are not that conducive to growing. So it does prove that you could grow in the middle of a city and top of a roof with this kind of a system.
That's exactly right, and that's the best example of adaptation up on top here, where we were trying to find a spot for the greenhouse, and it was all bedrock. So instead of going down, we went up. We just, can't go down, we'll go up with the beds. And I'll tell you something, it's a lot easier on your bed.
Self-preservation.
Okay, so this is what we call our Gleaning Field, and Betsy and Jesse have started, and like Jesse was describing, initiated other gleaning projects. And does anyone here know what gleaning is? Anyone?
Like when people come and take leftover.
That's correct. And or we come and we pick the leftover crops that another farmer may have that they didn't get to, and they just didn't have time, or their market's finished, or whatever reason. And you often see, whole orchards of apples, the apples on the ground, and it's just like, think of how many people could be eating that stuff. And so we have apprentices and ourselves,
Our CSA members, friends.
and we go and we might pick that crop or gather it and then bring it to the food bank or to some other place where people need food. Part of our mission here, and as I said when we were sitting down, is trying to touch as many people as we can. And there's, the revenue, the vegetables we sell are to typically a high-end market, and that's one way that we touch people, but we also want to touch people who may not be able to shop at the village market or go to the dressing room or the farm.
I have a question. You called this the gleaning
We call it our gleaning field,
field, but I was just wondering, so does that mean that sometimes you invite people to glean from your farm?
No, we'll be harvesting this for giving away, for donating.
I see. Okay.
A good portion of these crops will go, the winter squash and pumpkin and the storage crops will go to people we'll be donating.
One of the things we want to do next is to create a cold storage and to take some of these and see how well we can store it and what are the techniques. I mean, so many of those things have been lost. People don't know how to do it. We want to bring some of those back and see if we can really feed ourselves off this land and feed our animals off the land.
Every year we get better at it. We had to break sod here and turn this from grass into field crops, so we're sort of in the middle of that, but that remains pasture. That's where we'll graze sheep and chickens. So we have both inside this fence.
In our combined entities between Millstone Farm and our foundation, we're very focused on regional food systems. And by having the farm, we get to experience it and understand the challenges of being a small farmer. And you'll hear more about it when we talk about the chickens and the livestock. But in regional food systems, what we're realizing and everyone else is realizing is that our country, which used to be all regional food systems, isn't anymore. And the infrastructure has to be built in order to support local agriculture, small-scale farming. And so we do that here in many different ways. One way is to try to bring farmers in here so that they could understand what we're doing farming-wise, and probably more importantly, how we are working with the restaurants and the markets. And we're bringing restaurants in so they understand how to work with farmers, because the regional food system is kind of broken. And for it to scale, which we all want it to do, all those pieces of what's called the supply chain have to be built. So the farmer has to, and there's so many people who want to be farmers and may not have land. And so again, with our apprentices, and you'll spend time with Katie, Derek, and Leslie, you could hear their story and why they're here and what they want to learn and what they hope to do afterwards. And so there's a disconnect in some ways, because there is the talent of people who want to farm. There is a lot of land that should be farmed, and there's a demand for the local, organic, healthy produce. And yet the market is not formed to put all those pieces together. So a lot of what we do between Millstone Farm and our foundation is to look for where those gaps are and to see how we can either connect people together, we can inspire people, we can finance people if that's what it takes, so that we can start filling some of the gaps. And they occur on the produce side, they occur even more so on the livestock side, where things like, going back to our theme today of resilient leadership in a networked world, the neat thing about communication technology is that it is a way for small farmers to now compete with large farmers and agri-farming, because communication, if you have the ability, and Katie could talk more a little bit about how we actually are texting and emailing to our restaurants, it's enabled a small farmer to connect with their distribution without having to aggregate and go to a large scale system, which you can't do at a regional level.
This is the new orchard, and we just put in 11 fruit trees. We have pears, persimmons, pawpaws, and plums. We have all the pea fruits. We're really working, I guess, with resiliency in mind, because we want to do a lot with water conservation and also building soil in the orchard. All the trees are planted on these mounds, and then right before the mound is like a little gutter. So we call those berms and swales. And that's good for several reasons, one of which is that this orchard was built on bedrock, so when it rains, if this was just the regular hillside, the water would just wash right down. And I have heard that it's gotten very swampy down there in the past. So now the water will kind of collect in the swales, the gutters, and then it will slowly drain into the berms, the hillsides, and it can be stored there so that the trees can just slowly and efficiently use that pot of water. And then we're also using this straw mulch to stop the evaporation. The other thing that we're doing is we're really trying to build the soil, because the soil it's not perfect right here. And so we're putting plants in there that accumulate nutrients, and these are all perennial plants. So hopefully they'll be here forever. Many people call them weeds because they spread, and we usually don't want them in our gardens, but they're actually really good for the soil, and we want them to spread here because they're all also edible.
Should we point out the swimming pool?
This was our pool. There was a lot of potatoes.
The potato bugs haven't discovered us here yet. It's a virgin spot for potatoes, so they haven't found us out. And underneath the row cover is also pumpkins, which we will use for storage crops and also for market. And we terraced the little hillside here to make it more usable for growing crops. When Betsy and Jesse arrived here, there was a mountain of old compost from horses. And so a lot of this, what's now soil, was our compost that continues to decompose, and we plant nitrogen fixing crops on top of it to assist in that decomposition, because decomposition uses nitrogen, so while it's composting, it's sucking up nitrogen. So by planting alfalfa or clover or something like that on top of it, you're feeding back the nitrogen and helping the decomposition along. All the chicken coops are mobile. All the chicken coops are mobile. And there's a few rogue chickens that just hang out, but
Yeah, we kind of like
they don't. They just go wherever they want. Plastic's down. It's literally an oven, and you'll literally bake in here if the plastic were down. So we're taking off the sides now, and trying to preserve this plastic longer. So we just we put some T-bars on the end of a piece of pipe that rolls along the best, and rolled it and rolled it and rolled it under, and got it up this high. And we think this is going to do it for the year. We don't have to take the plastic off. It's really a blessing to have these raised beds. And we're sitting on bedrock. And we grow up maybe around 23 kinds of lettuce now. And this is our big cash crop. I would say this is our biggest cash crop. And it's labor intensive. It's all done by hand. We harvest it, we wash it and spin it. Then it goes to the chefs ready to eat. So they don't have to waste any compost. They don't cut the bottoms off and throw them in the garbage or worry about where it's going to go. We keep the compost. We do the labor here, which keeps the workforce on the farm and provides work for farmers and young people who want to work on a farm. And it saves the chef money because he's not doing all that prep work. So it's an advantage for them to buy a ready to use product. And virtually all of our chefs are within a stone's throw, and many of them come here.
We should also say that we actually bring some of their compost back.
Yes, that's right.
All of the compost we bring now goes to our pigs.
We don't use any fuel in the wintertime here. Any other questions? Soil compost mix that we add back to the beds. The garlic patches behind here. We left the scapes on the elephant garlic. You see those big tall things growing. It's sort of a different crop we're growing.
Now we're going to start selling our clover to our chefs, I think. There were a lot of edibles that were in the field that we want to collect, and they're always interested in that, which is, you
Very
can put that in your salads, and it's very nutritious.
Or if you're hungry and you're out there in the field and you have nothing to eat, you could eat this.
What is the name?
Red clover, very high in protein,
Really?
really delicious, and it's amazing what's around you.
So fascinating to watch, you know, after a really hard rain, you know, the water's up to the boardwalk and then it just seeps right back down. And the water on this property is really interesting because there's this wetlands up here and then there's a pond below, and we see through some of the fields, we won't walk down there today, but there are a lot of sloping fields and you see the water coming out in different areas, so like artesianal wells coming out. So there's water flowing all over this property. We have a whole variety of vegetables in this garden.
Now it's with a need for decentralized energy and decentralized agriculture, which is a wonderful thing, and that's what should be happening. The challenges are for these resources are more complicated. Each of you are coming here with your own expertise, but you have a chance to walk on the trail or sit and have lunch with someone else who's doing something entirely different. You might be in energy, they might be in agriculture, someone else might be in forestry, but by sitting and sharing stories and understanding the challenges that they have, you'll realize we're all trying to do the same thing. And there's ways that we can learn from each other today and beyond today by talking to people who are in different fields with different expertise. That's my observation.